All right, welcome to the deep dive. So today we're diving into some big baseball news. Willy Adames just signed with the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, big move for sure.
Big move. And, the Giants haven't been super active in free agency the last couple of years, but they seem ready to shake things up, after they missed the playoffs last
Just
year.
they missed the playoffs.
So we've got some great sources lined up to really dissect this. We've got articles from MLB News, ESPN, and then we'll also be looking at some of those hot takes from the Ball subreddit. Always fun.
Or Reddit. Always a good time.
Always a good time. So to kick things off, let's break down the contract itself. 7 years, $182 million.
Woo!
Whoa is right. And this is not just, the largest contract in Giants history. It actually blows past Buster Posey's $167 million deal from back in 2013.
Wow, so it's been a while since they spent like that.
It's been a minute. And just to put this into even more perspective, it's the third largest contract ever for a Dominican-born player. So that puts Adames behind only legends like Albert Pujols and Robinson Cano.
Wow. That's saying something.
It really is. But of course, got to mention the pending physical clause.
Oh, yeah, right.
Always a little bit of a nail biter for Giants fans, after that whole Carlos Correa situation last year.
I was going to say, that's got to be on everybody's mind.
Right. So quick recap for anyone who, might not remember. The Giants thought they had Correa. They had him.
Totally.
But then that deal completely imploded after his physical.
Yeah, some concerns came up, I remember.
Concerns, yeah. So there's definitely some, understandable anxiety floating around until Adames officially gets through that physical.
I get it. Makes sense.
Yeah. But now let's talk about the player himself. Adames is coming off an absolute monster season. 32 home runs, 112 RBIs, and even 21 stolen bases.
Those are some serious numbers. I mean, that's top 10 in the league for home runs. And 112 RBIs, that puts him among the real run producers in the league. But, it's not just about those raw stats. He also had a 5.3 WAR. So that puts him among the top 10 shortstops in the league when you consider his overall value.
Okay, 5.3 WAR. You're going to have to break that down for me. What does that mean for someone who, maybe isn't following baseball super closely?
Sure. So WAR stands for wins above replacement. And it basically tells you how many more wins any player, contributes to his team compared to, a readily available replacement level player.
Okay.
So Adames contributed over 5 extra wins to his team last year.
Yeah.
Compared to, a typical backup. And WAR considers both offense and defense, so it's a pretty good way to measure a player's overall impact.
It's a bottom line. High WAR, good thing.
Exactly. 5.3 is really impressive. Really impressive.
Okay. All right. But looking at the stats, one thing does kind of jump out. He also had 20 errors at shortstop,
Oh, yeah.
which is a career high for him. And some fans on Reddit, they're already having a field day, calling him Adames.
Oh, Reddit. Never disappoints. But yeah, 20 errors, that is something to look at. It is important to kind of dig a little deeper. So the league average for errors at shortstop last season was about 15.
Okay.
So he's, a bit above average, but it's not drastically so. And, when you look at it, most of his errors were actually throwing errors. So that suggests maybe it's more about accuracy than his actual range or fielding ability.
Gotcha. So something to monitor, but not necessarily a deal breaker.
Yeah. I think the Giants are probably hoping that, new team, new coaching,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they can help him improve that throwing accuracy.
Yeah, change of scenery can do wonders sometimes.
Yeah.
But speaking of other teams, the Giants actually beat out some pretty serious competition for Adames. I mean, we heard the Braves and even the Dodgers were in the mix.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Landing Adames is huge for the Giants, especially, considering who else wanted him. The Dodgers, they've been the Giants' biggest rival for forever.
Yeah.
So this move shows that the Giants, they're not content to just sit back and let the Dodgers, run away with the division.
Right. Makes sense. And, shortstop has been kind of a revolving door for the Giants these past few years. So how does Adames, how does he fit into their overall strategy?
Oh, it's a huge upgrade. Night and day. And it allows them to put other players in the best position to succeed. Remember, they've got Matt Chapman over at third.
Yeah.
And he's a defensive wizard.
Yeah.
So that left side of the infield, Adames and Chapman, potentially one of the best in the entire league. Defensive.
Offensively, they've got a lot of pop. Potentially, I saw a Reddit comment, someone called it a 90-bomb infield.
Whoa. 90 bombs. All right. Now, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, right? While Adames and Chapman both have the potential to hit 30-plus homers, every year, It's unlikely they'll both peak at the exact same time.
Right.
But you're right, having two power threats like that right in the middle of the lineup,
Yeah.
it's going to make the Giants a lot more dangerous on offense, no question.
Yeah. It's exciting for Giants fans, for sure. Now let's dive into some of those fan reactions, because the first baseball subreddit is, well, it's blowing up about this signing, and, there's a lot of different opinions flying around.
Reddit, what can you say? Always a good pulse check.
Always. So, first of all, there's a lot of relief, like collective relief, that the Giants are finally, opening the wallet, spending some money, and landing a real bona fide star player. Because, after that Correa situation, after staying kind of quiet in free agency, some fans were starting to wonder, is the front office really committed to building a winner?
Yeah, this signing sends a pretty clear message. Like, hey, we're serious, we're here to compete, and we're willing to put our money where our mouth is.
Exactly. But of course, the Correa thing is still fresh in everyone's minds.
Of course.
I saw a comment that was like, I'll believe it when he's in a Giants uniform and stepping onto the field.
That's fair. Fans are a little gun-shy after what happened. Understandable.
Yeah.
But, the pending physical clause, that's standard for any big contract. It protects the team and the player.
Right. Totally makes sense. But then there's also a ton of excitement, about the potential of this infield. Adams and Chapman, they could be an unstoppable force, both offensively and defensively.
I think Giants fans have every right to be optimistic. This signing addresses a huge need and gives them a real star at a key position.
Absolutely. But, not everyone's totally sold on Adams. Some fans are worried about his defense and also, whether a 7-year contract is just too risky.
Yeah. Long-term contracts, they always carry some risk, for sure. And Adams' defense, it's something to keep an eye on. But the Giants, they're obviously betting on his upside. They believe he could be a major part of their success for years to come.
Yeah. All right, so we've covered a lot already. The contract, Adams' performance last year, how he fits in with the Giants' fan reactions. It's a lot. But let's shift gears for a second and, look at this signing, how it compares to some other recent contracts for shortstops.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? The market for shortstops, it's really exploded in the last few years. They've become, some of the most valuable players in baseball.
Definitely. You look at some of the deals we've seen. Francisco Lindor got 10 years, $341 million from the Mets. That was a few years back. And then Trea Turner signed for 11 years and $300 million with the Phillies just last year. Even Dansby Swanson got a huge deal, 7 years, $177 million from the Cubs.
Yeah, those are some crazy numbers. It just shows you how much teams value, a really dynamic two-way shortstop, someone who can hit and field.
Totally. So where does Adams' contract fit in with all that? Is he, overpaid? Underpaid? What do you think?
It's hard to say for sure. It's all relative. It depends on the market, what other comparable players are getting. But based on Adams' recent performance, his age, he's 29, I'd say his contract is probably right in line with what you'd expect.
Yeah. It's not, a steal, but it doesn't seem like a huge overpay either.
Right. The Giants are paying, they're paying a premium for a proven all-star. But they're also getting a player who's, still in his prime, still has the potential to get even better.
For sure. Now let's zoom out a little bit and think about the bigger picture. How does this signing impact the balance of power in the NL West?
Well, the NL West, it's already the toughest division in baseball. You got the Dodgers, the Padres, they're always spending big. The Diamondbacks are getting better. So the Giants, they kind of had to make a move like this to stay competitive.
Right. It's an arms race. Every team is trying to one-up each other.
Exactly. And that's great for the fans. It makes for a much more exciting season, a more unpredictable season. When you got multiple teams all fighting for that division title, every game matters.
Yeah. And I'm already looking forward to those Giants-Dodgers series next year. Ooh, it's going to be good. But speaking of the Dodgers, some fans are wondering, does this signing mean the Giants are, out of the running for Juan Soto? Because, they just dropped a ton of cash on Adams.
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Soto's the most coveted player in baseball.
Yeah.
And he's going to want a record-breaking contract.
Oh, for sure. And the rumors have been swirling for months, right? That the Giants were one of the front runners to get him.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I think the Adams signing, it probably makes it less likely that they can afford Soto too.
Yeah.
But, you never know. Maybe the Giants have some, financial wizardry up their sleeve.
Maybe. Or maybe they'll, switch gears completely and focus on pitching. Which, let's be honest, that's another area they need to address.
For sure. Their starting rotation, it's a little thin behind Logan Webb. They definitely need to add some depth, some experience if they want to, hang with the Dodgers and the Padres.
Yeah. And those Corbin Burns rumors have been out there for a
Oh,
while.
yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be a fantastic addition, but he's going to cost a lot.
That's for sure. So it's a balancing act for the Giants. They got to build a team that can win a championship. They also got to be, smart about their money.
It's a tough job.
Yeah.
But that's what makes baseball so interesting, right? All these moving parts, all these decisions.
Totally. Okay, let's get back to Adams. How does his arrival, change the dynamics of the Giants infield? What do you think?
Well, we talked about the left side of the infield, right? Adams and
Yeah.
Chapman. That's going to be rock solid defensively. But it also raises some questions about the rest of the infield. Like, what happens now?
Right. Well, they've got Thairo Estrada, who had a really good year at second base.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's David Villar, who can play, both corner infield spots.
Yeah, so they have options,
Yeah.
which is a good problem to have. Gives them flexibility, They can move guys around depending on who they're playing, if they're injuries, or just to give someone a day off.
Yeah, makes sense. And I saw some people on Reddit talking about maybe moving Estrada to the outfield.
Interesting. He has played some outfield before, so it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
That would let them keep his bat in the lineup and open up a spot for Villar at second.
Yeah, that would give them, a super powerful lineup, power up and down the order.
It would. But, it all depends on how everyone performs in spring training and how they adjust to their new roles. We'll have to see.
We will. But one thing that's got Giants fans really pumped is the potential for double plays, with Adams and Chapman.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're both so athletic. They've got great range, strong arms.
Exactly. And a strong defensive infield, it can be a game changer. Turning those double plays, it prevents runs, it changes momentum, it frustrates the other team.
Totally. I can already picture it, Adams scoops up a ground ball, flips it to Chapman, who fires a laser to first for the out. Crowd was wild.
Yeah, it's a thing of beauty. Okay, now let's not get too carried away. It's still December. Lots of baseball left to play before we see any double plays.
You're right. Got to temper our enthusiasm. But it's hard not to get excited about the possibilities.
It is. But every signing, every move, it has pros and cons, right? So what are some, potential downsides to this deal? What do we need to watch out for?
Well, like we said, Adams' defense, it can be a little shaky sometimes. The throwing errors, The Giants are definitely going to be hoping he can clean that up. And, of course, any long-term contract, there's risk. What if he gets hurt? What if his performance just drops off as he gets older? You never know.
Right. It's a gamble.
But
it's a gamble the Giants felt like they had to take.
Yeah, I think so. And you got to remember, in baseball, you sometimes got to take risks if you want to win it all.
That's true. And there's also the financial side of it, right? This contract, it eats up a big chunk of the Giants' payroll, limits their options for other moves.
Yeah, it limits what they can do. But, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe having some, constraints forces you to be more creative, more strategic.
Right. Maybe this means they'll focus more on developing their young players or, finding those hidden gems in the trade market.
Totally. And the Giants, they have a good track record with that,
Right.
Finding undervalued talent, turning them into, productive players. They've done it before.
Yeah, they have. Okay, so, wow, we've talked about a lot. The contract, Adams' performance, how he fits in with the Giants, what the fans are saying, the impact on the division, the financial stuff. Whew, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. This signing, it's got so many layers to it. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
It is, but if we had to, boil it all down to one key takeaway, what would it be? What do you think?
One key takeaway, I think, is this. The Giants are all in. They're not messing around. They want to win, not just compete. They want to win championships. And they're willing to make big moves to get there.
Yeah. This is a statement to the rest of the league. It's like the Giants are saying, hey, we're back, and we're not going anywhere.
Exactly. They're telling their fans, their rivals, everybody, we're here to stay. And we're coming for that crown.
It really feels like a new era for Giants baseball. I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's just the beginning, right? It's going to be fun to watch how it unfolds.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap up our deep dive into Willy Adames joining the San Francisco Giants. We covered a lot of ground today, folks, but hopefully, you've got a better understanding of this signing, why the Giants made this move, and what it could mean for the team, for the division, for the league as a whole.
It was a blast diving deep with you. And as always, we encourage you to keep thinking about these topics, form your own opinions, keep the conversation going.
Exactly. That's what makes baseball so great. It's a sport that sparks all these debates, all these discussions. So keep those conversations going. we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.